right now it's time to talk about the real football. The reason why is because Drew Brees had a football in his hand on an ad, Danny, and there's only one question to be asked here. Is Drew Brees coming back? Danny, put it up there. Yesterday, look, everything that Drew Brees does right now, everybody's kind of hanging by a thread, right? You're desperately trying to see, okay, we're reading way too much into things. Well, Jake, what is your reaction when you see Drew Brees doing Copper Fit ads with a football in his hand? Of course, Copper Fit. Look, you're old. Look, it's on his throwing elbow. We know he had some rotator cuff problems. Who knows if he has like a Copper Fit shoulder thing on?
I've worn Copper Fit one time in my life, and it was for over 30 co-ed soccer.
Exactly.
Nothing says I'm old and ready to give it up like putting on a Copper Fit. If Brett Favre has taught us anything, that's when you're into the commercial world and not the play. Okay. He was not slanging Copper Fit when he was playing.
So he was not. Do we have confirmation on that?
Yes, he was not.
I feel like at the end of his career, he may have been. Maybe that is the key indicator here. Was Brett Favre still playing when he started Copper Fit commercials? If he was, then I think Brees still being up in the air. I think it's still there. If he's not, well, then maybe there's nothing to think about. I guess the questions become two things. First off, for what it's worth, there are some interesting. 20 days ago, Sean Payton went on Pro Football Talk and said that you can expect a decision from Drew Brees in a week or week and a half. What's your reaction to us being now nearly 3 weeks later and no announcement?
Look, I don't know. We all know when he's got to be on the roster. The Saints holding out because they want to make sure that when they do decide to make a move in June, that it's actually going to save them the money on the cap, that it's going to save them. I can't imagine he would come back after going through the broken ribs. And you just mentioned he had arm problems as well. And kind of where the Saints sit. Like the Saints at some point have to have the next quarterback, right? And it's always a very difficult conversation to have. Okay, when do we move on? Like the Colts had it with Peyton Manning, and now Peyton still had something in the tank. He went and played in 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl. The Chargers had it with Phillip Rivers. Phillip went and played 1 year in Indy, had a good year, but decided, hey, I'm done. I'm ready to retire. And they're at that crossroads right now.
And did it right after the season. How about that?
And he didn't wait. I mean, now he's already got a job lined up. He's coaching high school football, but Drew has one too with NBC Sports,
he's got the
right?
big.
So,
I think that is.
I don't know what he's waiting on. I know it didn't end well. I know that is not the way he wanted to go out. I understand all of that, but I think right now when you look at where the Saints are, the Saints have mentally already moved on from Drew Brees. I think it'd be kind of difficult to go back and start over. How do you feel if Drew decided, if I came here tomorrow, I walked in that door and said, T-Bob, did you see it? Drew Brees decided to come back. What would your feeling be?
I mean, that's the question, right? That's the question. And on the Copperfit thing, to be fair, right now probably is the perfect time to push stuff, like to push product, because everything you say is being hyper-analyzed, and we just talked about Copperfit. If Drew Brees were to return, I think I'd be sitting a bit.
Like you are now.
And that internally, I'd be like, oh boy, like I don't think that's a very good idea. Like I think, as you said, right, there was the ribs, the rotator cuff. We learned he had a torn plantar fascia randomly at the end of season 2 or something affected there. Dude, those okay, but it's not nothing. It's not nothing. Those are tough as well. It seems like a body that is yelling, look, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. So my initial reaction would be, I don't think that's a very good idea for all parties involved. Probably not for him, probably not for the Saints. But, I mean, there is the other side of it where with his, like, has this man earned the right to push this thing as far as he wants and as far as he can? And how about this being the other side of it? If Drew Brees and Jameis Winston were in an objective camp competition to win a job, who do you think would win? Everything that I've heard says it would still be Brees. But then again, what I've heard is that people weren't terribly impressed with Winston last camp.
Listen, it's not even the fact that, you know, what Drew has left in the tank. Because Drew, they can form the offense around his skill set that he still has, right? The intermediate passing game.
And that's what they've done. They built it in his image.
But the thing with Drew is he's missed games, a big chunk of games over the last 2 seasons. how many more times can you do that? How many more times can you be productive when he's missing? Now, the last 2 years, you've only lost one game, right? You've done a really nice job of staying hot and winning football games. But if he does it for a third year, are you prepared for that? So that's probably the question they're having upstairs. Look, we love Drew. Drew can help us, but Drew's body is not failing him, but he's just a 40-year-old man trying to play one of the toughest sports in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is a situation where I'd imagine the front office is, hoping that Brees doesn't make it come to any of these awkward crossroads and that retirement is announced. And like you said, maybe it's the idea that they're waiting till after June 3rd so the NFL can't hit them with any sort of technicality because Roger Goodell will do his damnedest to. Like, again, he doesn't fabricate things against the Saints, but I do think the record shows that if he can nail the Saints within the letter of the law, he is going to do just that. So maybe they have to wait. Danny, what about you? Drew Brees is coming back for a season. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think it's time to move on. It's
even Danny.
I love the man. I always, as an Orleanian, I always will be grateful for what Drew Brees did for the city. But the time is now. It's the next era needs to step up.
Well, and congratulations to us as a show because we just did an entire Drew Brees retirement segment based off a Copperfit tweet.
But Copperfit's a really good starting point because of what it is.
Yep, and the history of Brett Favre and everything. But in terms of being as sports radio as possible, I'd like to applaud all of us for having the Drew Brees retiring or not conversation. It's a conversation that I hope to have 3 to 4 more times before an announcement is made. So when we get back here on OTB, we will wrap up hour number 2 and say goodbye to CST and others and get ready for hour 3. So stick around.